This is how to install keyboard keys on a Apple Magic Keyboard for iPad 11-inch A2261. These methods will also work for 12.9-inch A1998 or A2480, but some of the keys are slightly different sizes, so you'll have to use the correct method for your key. I'm going to start with the normal key. If you're installing the hinge, first you want to make sure that these little hooks here are all straight. If these are bent and you try to install the hinge, it's just going to bend them more and you're going to have to gently unbend them. These are aluminum, which is very soft, so you can't put much pressure on them because they will snap off. So you've got to bend them very gently if they are out of shape. So first line up the hinge with the key. These two little hooks will grab onto these little bars here. You want to slide it down into those hooks, and you want to press very gently on the bottom, and it should snap into place. If it takes force, then these are likely bent, and you have to make sure these aren't bent first. And to install the key, again, make sure that these little hooks here are straight. If these are curled over, then they're not going to grab into the key, and your key will sit downwards and it won't press down properly. So make sure these two little hooks here are straight. You can barely see them because they're transparent. They look like hooks. If they're damaged, they'd be curled over. If you try and force this down, it will curl over these hooks. So you slide it upwards into these two little prongs here. You're sliding the key upwards into there, and you're gently pressing down in the base. The key should move freely. For the smaller keys, the method's a bit different. Again, make sure these are not bent. Make sure these three hooks are not bent. You're going to hook the big one into here, downwards, and then you're going to press down on the base, and it should snap into place. You also want to check on these these as well. You want to check that they have a little bit of movement. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then your key can move freely. See, it just moves a couple millimeters. Up and down. Right. So these ones, you've actually got to lift the whole key, the whole hinge a little bit to get these to hook in, because these hook in the other way around. They hook in that way instead of inwards. They hook in that way around. So what you've got to do, very gently, not bending the metal hooks. The key then slides underneath the hinge. Again, you've got to make sure that the two, wait a second. You've got to make sure these two little hooks here, let me focus. Focus on here. Come on. Little hooks there are not bent, they're straight. That one and this one. If they were curled over, then it wouldn't slide in properly. Right, so you're going to lift this up very gently, and you're going to slide the key underneath the hinge, and then gently press these two little prongs into the hooks. And if you now move the key down, it shouldn't have any resistance to laying flat. And then you can gently press the base down, and the key moves freely. The method's the same for the smaller keys. However, the hinge is slightly smaller. So again, check these two hooks are not bent, and this one. You're going to slide the hinge into the top hook, and then you gently press down the bottom, and these two little hooks will hold onto the hinge. Shouldn't take force. Again, if it takes force, then you're bending something or damaging something. It should be gentle. It shouldn't take force to push these in. Again, we're going to check that these two little hooks are not bent and not curled over. If they are curled over, you can gently unbend them with something thin, something like this, or anything else. Then you can gently lift them up. These are a little bit stronger than the aluminum bars. They won't snap as easily, but they still can snap off, so do be gentle. Again, lift up the bottom of the hinge. You're going to slide this key underneath the hinge. These are very fiddly because there's not much room. There's not much room for the key to slide underneath the hinge here, basically. Now we've managed to get the key underneath the hinge. Those two little hooks line up with the two prongs, and you can gently press this down into the key. The key doesn't resist laying flat, and you can gently press the base down. This is the exact same method we're going to use on the arrow key. Again, check these three prongs, not bent. Slide the arrow key to the left. The top arrow key will slide differently. I believe it slides to the right. Let's check that for you. Let's see. Okay, so the top arrow hinge is reversed. So we're sliding this to the left. If you're using the top arrow key, then you'd be sliding it to the right. Gently pressing down. This hinge moves freely. And then again, check these two little hooks here are not bent. They look straight. And lift up on one side of the hinge, and you're going to slide the key under the hinge and gently press the key down, hinge down, into the key. This should not take force. The key does not resist sliding downwards. You can gently press it in. It moves freely. These large square keys are the same method as the square keys. So there's two little hooks again. Does not focus in. There's two little hooks, which are straight, and the clips. So you slide the key upwards into the hinge and push down gently on the base. The hinge attachment method is the same as the square keys. As for these slightly larger keys, these have a metal bar on them. They're the same attachment method, but there's two more hooks here that hold onto the metal bar. So you've got to check these two hooks as well. You'll be sliding the key upwards into these hooks, and at the same time sliding the key into the hinge hooks. So you'll line the key up, make sure the hooks aren't bent again on the key and the hinge. maybe a bit fiddly, and also make sure the bars are installed correctly. You're sliding these up into the hooks, and then also sliding the top of the key into the top of the hinge. Then you can gently press down the base, and that now moves through. This is for the enter key. There's two of these hinges, one slightly smaller. There are 4 hooks here, which should all be straight. Another 4 hooks here, which should all be straight. These are for the hinges. There is also a metal bar again at the bottom of the enter key. This metal bar slides underneath this hook and this hook, which should also be straight. You're going to slide the hinge to the right, lining it up with the hooks. These might actually be a bit bent here, are they? Or is it just being fiddly? This is an example of bent hooks, so let's have a look. This one here is very slightly bent upwards. I'm going to have to very gently move that a little for the hooking correctly. There we go. Oh, that's still not back down. You have to have some patience, especially if the hooks are bent, because you're going to be fiddling with them to try and get them to fit correctly. These hooks don't line up currently with the hinge. I believe it's this one here. There we go. Now it lines up. So if it doesn't line up, like shown there, then you've got to figure out which one is misshaped. Same goes for any of these keys. And then you've got to gently straighten it a little bit. So we've slided it to the right. We've now got to gently press down on the base, on the right side of it. And it should snap into place. This one has not snapped into place. We're going to check and make sure these hooks should slide all the way. See how they're lined up with these hooks, so the hinge can move all the way enough to hook in over here. There we go. And again, this hinge now moves freely. It needs to move a few millimeters. Do not try and pull it off. Same goes to the bottom hinge, which is a lot smaller. You're going to make sure these line up. I'll try and use a tool so you can see it. These indeed line up. Do they? Nope, we're very slightly bent again. We're going to see which one is bent. Which one is bent? Again, it's this one, just very slightly angled to the left. We're very slightly angled down, sorry. Now this lines up nicely. I'm going to gently press down the right side of the hinge. And we're going to check that this moves freely. It does. There's not a lot of movement on this hinge. This moves a few millimeters. Now for the key. There are 4 hooks. Here, here, here and here. You're going to make sure that these are all straight and not curled over. There are also 4 clips. These can be quite brittle. If one does break, the key should still hold. But do be gentle because these clips are quite brittle. And clips are brittle on all of these keys for some reason. Line the key up. These 2 hooks. See the metal bars go into these hooks. There's not much space. There we go. Focus. Camera. You can see the bar is hooked into these 2 hooks. So we're going to slide the key to the left slightly. And then we're going to push down gently on the right side of the key. We're going to make sure the key is all pressed down after it's slipped in. You can see the key moves freely. Spacebar is the most difficult to get correct. Because on the back of the spacebar there is 4 hooks, 4 clips, and 2 bars. There again, 4 hooks for the right hinge, 4 hooks for the left hinge, and there are 2 hooks on either side for the bars. Zoom in. Excuse the fact I haven't cleaned this. You can see these 2 hooks are straight, these hooks are straight, and so are these hooks. To install the hinges, hook the hinge over the top 2 hooks. That is hooked over, and then you can press down gently on the base of the hinge, and again this hinge moves freely, only a few millimeters. The same goes for the left hinge. That moves freely. And the easiest way to install this is you are now going to take the top bar off. Not the top bar, the bottom bar is upside down. You see these 2 clips? Those go here. This is the bottom of the key. You're going to remove this bottom bar. You are then going to install this bottom bar into the space bar, into the hooks. This is going to sit straight with a little gap all the way around on either side. You should make sure it's an equal gap on each side. And then you've got the best chance of getting the space bar installed. There's also an equal gap all the way along here. If this gap here is not equal, then it's a sign that one of these might be bent, one of these little hooks, which you can check. We're then going to lift this slightly. We're just going to swivel it. This is then to slide in. Then the space bar is straight. These hooks. So like the other key, the right shift key, we're going to slide it upwards into the hinges, and then we're going to press down gently, but it will take a few times to press it down. If we can hear it clicking, then we know we've clicked it in properly. Now you can press the whole key once you know it's correctly hooked on. You can press the whole key and make sure all the little clips are hooked in and the space bar is moving freely. These are the hardest keys to install. If you have any trouble trying to install these keys, leave a comment and I'll try and help. Also, if you damage any keys or you have any damaged keys, keys can be purchased in the links in the description.